Hey folks, David Stewart here. Let's talk about playing the cards that you are dealt. This is a very common phrase here in the US, and it's really an affirmation of free will and self-mastery. References basically poker. You don't know what cards you're going to be dealt. They're random, but how you go about managing the play of the game really is up to you. So the idea is you are not responsible and you don't have control over the conditions which you inherit. Your genes, your family, your poverty or wealth level as a child, certainly, your intellectual capacities, your artistic capacities, whatever those happen to be. A lot of those things are not up to you. You inherit those conditions. But how you go about using those things, how you go about maximizing your return on what you've been given, that really is up to you. And I think this is an important perspective because you want to acknowledge sort of what you've been given, and at the same time you want to acknowledge what you can do with it and also be realistic about what you can't do with it. For instance, I could never have played in the NBA. I'm not tall enough. I'm a mere 6 feet tall, which is quite short in the NBA. That would make me like one of the shortest players, I think. And I just never had the athletic capacity to play at a high level with basketball. I practiced a lot when I was a younger teen. I played a lot of basketball. I really enjoyed and loved the game, but I was never good enough at the game. I never had that natural talent where somebody else has never really played and like, boom, all of a sudden they're shooting off to the sky with their talent level. And then you have to imagine just how much more talented somebody in the NBA would be, where your all-conference college player sits on the bench. It's insane, the level of talent there. I didn't have it. I didn't have that explosive athletic capacity. Whereas if you're Shaquille O'Neal, if you were Shaquille O'Neal, playing in the NBA is something that's a lot easier to achieve because you're a 7 foot tall, or maybe he was taller, like 7'1", 7 foot tall, highly athletic man. So if you're a 7 foot tall, very athletic man, it's not that hard to be able to ascend to the ranks of the NBA, at least compared to other people. So no matter how hard I was going to work, probably not going to ever play in the NBA. But I have different capacities, and so I choose to cultivate those. And I'm reminded of a video by Steve Vai that, I don't know, it's good to watch. It's just him talking about his career. He says he cultivates his strengths and avoids his weaknesses. That is to say, he focuses on his strengths and he tries to avoid his weaknesses as much as possible. And that's how he's going to be successful and maximize his returns. And this is a very good approach. I like to think that I try to cultivate my strengths and minimize my weaknesses. That is, make it so my weaknesses are not going to negatively affect me in bad ways. And you may have different weaknesses depending on, whatever circumstances you inherited. So I think about, for instance, my father. Now, my father, his parents divorced. So, baby boomers were not the first generation to divorce. His parents divorced. And there was lots of drama surrounding that I don't want to get into. And, abuse by step parents and things like that. And despite those difficult circumstances, he had no guidance going to college, didn't necessarily do that well in college, at least early on, because he had no one helping him and no one guiding him. And I know that because I've seen his report cards. Sorry, Dad, I've seen the D's. But he was able to recover from that and achieve enough self-mastery, get 2 bachelor's degrees and graduate. Then he decided to join the Army. He was able to marry my mom and stay married to her until his death, at least. Over 30 years of marriage. So he had a successful marriage, even though his parents divorced and he had maybe that trauma there. He was able to finish an academic career, even though he started it very poorly and had a really bad base to begin with. He was able to have several successful careers in different industries, despite the fact that he really didn't have a lot of guidance from his elders, and he really didn't have a lot going for him that he inherited. Like, he wasn't born into like a wealthy family or anything like that. So my dad was able to do a lot despite maybe his bad home circumstances because he chose to minimize his weaknesses, to avoid the things which would possibly cause him ruin. So my grandfather, for an example, he smoked and drank a lot. And so my dad did not smoke and did not drink at all. And in fact, I would say he had maybe 1 to 2 drinks per year. And now that I'm in like middle age, that's kind of what I have. I really barely drink at all. And it's because he saw what it did with his father and how it harmed his father and how it harmed his family, and was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have control over that. You are not destined to be an alcoholic. You're not destined to be a heavy drinker. You're not destined to be a chain smoker. These are things which you can take control of in your own life and fix in a lot of cases. If I look at myself, at one point I was very overweight. I was able to fix that through diet and exercise and changing lifestyles. So there's lots of things that you can fix. Now, I also look at my family, and like my whole family on my father's side has had weight issues. Well, I inherited whatever genes make it easy to be fat. I probably inherited because it was easy to get fat. But you still have control over those things. Yeah, you're dealt a hand that means that it's not easy to be like a fitness model without trying. That doesn't mean that you can't be healthy and you can't have generally good shape and you can't be generally athletic and enjoy athletic competition. It just means that you are in a different starting point than someone else. And so when I talk about minimizing my weaknesses, maybe my weakness is like, I like eating candy. Well, got to minimize the amount of candy that you eat. Or it's easy to gain weight. I have a slower metabolism than someone else. Well, you set up your diet to take that into account so that you don't gain too much fat, so on and so on and so forth. So there's lots of things that I want to encourage people. There's lots of things that you can change in your life, even if you've inherited bad circumstances. Yeah, maybe you didn't inherit a good home life. That doesn't mean you can't have a good home life. But you have to kind of know thyself. And that's actually one of the first things I talk about in like my Keys to Prolific Creativity book is know yourself, your needs, your wants. Maybe it's not writing like 6 books a year. Maybe it's working out at the gym. That's like the focus of your life, the thing that is really invigorating to you. And so that means it's something that you can't just like abandon or you won't be happy, but something that you should take into account. You got to know yourself. You have to know your weaknesses. You also have to know your strengths. And so that's a really important thing, I think, for minimizing the impact of your negative, possibly negative inherited circumstances. The home that you grew up in and the way that you were raised, of course, are going to affect you as an adult. And if you find that they're affecting you in a negative way, there's lots of things you can do to try to minimize that impact and try to, cognitive behavioral therapy and other things as well, to try to minimize that impact and alter your trajectory of what you're doing. It is under your control. You do have free will. It's not ultimate unrestricted free will, like you can't decide to be a bird and fly off. But you can make it so that you can have a successful marriage even if you grow up in a fractured and abusive home, but you may have to do more work in order to allow that to exist than somebody who grew up in an intact and happy family, right? People who grew up with a great relationship with their parents and an intact home, they have less work to do they just do what their parents did, and they're able to have a more successful marriage. Other people have to work harder at it. And that's just the way it is. It doesn't mean you can't have a happy and fulfilling home life. It means you're starting in a different place, and you have to take that into account. Things don't happen automatically. So a lot of times people also tend to think that certain conditions are like the automatic result of conditions we've inherited. I sometimes call this the therapeutic ideal. Like this person's a criminal because he had a bad childhood. Well, there's lots of people who had a bad childhood who aren't criminals because you have free will. They had control over themselves at various capacities. So yes, I like this idea of playing the hands that you're dealt because, yeah, sometimes you're dealt a crap hand, but how you go about utilizing it really is up to you, and you really can maximize that and make at least a happy and satisfying life for yourself. The last thing I'll say is I know there's a lot of people who get kind of obsessed with IQ as some measurement of intelligence. And the mistake to make, the biggest mistake you can make when thinking about IQ is thinking that IQ has some effect over you as an individual. Like you see lots of charts of correlation, and this is a big statistical fallacy that people make, which is that statistics somehow convert into probability on an individual level, and they just don't. They don't convert into probability. The divorce rate could be 90%. That doesn't mean your divorce has a 90%, your marriage has a 90% chance of failing. That means, 90% of marriages ended in divorce. You still have control over yours, and, not complete because you're with another person. But likewise, here's this correlation of IQ in something else. That doesn't mean somehow your IQ is in control of what you're doing. And in fact, one of the things I've noticed is that the people who are the quickest to talk about like their test scores or their IQ are generally the people with the least to show for it. They're the people that have accomplished nothing tangible in their lives, right? Think about the things that you're most proud of accomplishing. Like maybe you've finished a book, or maybe you've, hopefully you finished reading a book. Hopefully, if you finished writing a book, that's a big deal. That's a big accomplishment. Maybe you won a competition at some point. Maybe you have something else that you bought a house, or like you built a successful business, or something like that. You have some accomplishment in your life that you're proud of, and that you look at and it's like, yes, I did that. I feel good about doing that. If you're like, I feel good about that, and it's like I got some score on the SATs, it's time to start thinking about branching out in life and having some more meaningful accomplishments. It's one of the things I hear about Mince all the time is like Mince is full of losers. It's just full of people that, they are obsessed with their own intelligence and IQ because they don't actually have anything to show for it. They've never published anything, They're unable to act their will out in the world. I kind of see the same thing with credentialism. It's like, I have a doctorate in such and such. Call me doctor. The people who insist to be called doctor are the people who probably are least worthy of the title. It's the people who are most obsessed with the fact that some committee gave them a doctorate degree in some subject, and they can't formulate a coherent argument. They just want you to take their word for it. They want you to acknowledge their greatness rather than pointing to any kind of actual accomplishments that they may have done. So anyway, my point here is that, oh, I didn't get a good SAT score. That's not your destiny, okay? Oh, I never got a college degree. So that's not your destiny. In fact, you're probably better off for not getting a college degree at this point. Oh, I don't feel like I'm very smart. I was bad at math. That's not your destiny, okay? Maybe you're not naturally good at math, but that doesn't mean you can't do something which involves math on some level. Maybe you are not going to be a mathematician, but that doesn't mean that you somehow can't run the books of your business that involves math, right? You can use math, hopefully. So anyway, that's my little pep talk for today. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and I will see you guys next time.